What's up? What's up? This is your girl Fee, and hello, EmpowerHer Oasis. So I'm going to get straight into today's message, and today's message is entitled, We Need You, I Need You, the circle needs you, the Oasis needs you. And let me tell you why we need you. But before I get into that, quickly, I want to share with you a story about when I was in South Africa a couple of weeks ago. And so, if y'all notice, we went up a small mountain to go to God's window, and I did a video when I came down that mountain. But what I didn't video when I was in South Africa was another mountain that I had the opportunity to hike up. And this mountain, I don't remember the name of it. It was on the coast of Cape Town, but at the top of that mountain was a lighthouse. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how that story goes, and then I'm gonna tell you the importance of why I'm telling you that story. And so we're going up to the lighthouse, and so we had a private tour guide, and so we were about to go up to see the lighthouse, and the tour guide say, so you could take the hike up the mountain to see the lighthouse, or you could take a tram. Your girl knows she out of shape. So I said, I'm going to take the tram. So the tour guide said, no, Miss Cobbs, it'll be so much better if you hike it, right? So I'm like, okay, let's get it. I've been walking the whole time anyway. And so we began up this hike. About 40 to 50 stairs in, your girl out of breath. I'm sweating. My heart is pounding. My heart rate is up. And I feel like I am about to pass out. And so right at the top of about 40 or 50 stairs was a bench, a concrete bench. And so I quickly sit on that bench, and I told the tour guide and I told my husband, I said, y'all go ahead and go up the mountain. Just go up the mountain. And then, so they was like, no, we don't want to leave you by yourself. I said, no, I got a few phone calls I need to make. I need to reach people back in the States, let them know we okay. I'll be good. Take the hike on up. And so I'm sitting there, I'm on the phone talking to my sister-in-law. I see my husband and the tour guide hiking, and they got up it pretty quickly, I must admit. Then they come back down, the tour guide, my husband hadn't broken a sweat, by the way, but the tour guide, he huffing and puffing, he sweating, he coming up out of his clothes, and I'm like, man, that must have been a hike. And he said, yes, it was more than I bargained for. He said, I didn't think it would be that rough on me, but he said, your husband did really good. Okay. And so my husband began to describe what he saw when he got to the top of the lighthouse, and he talked about the beauty and the scenery that he saw over Cape Town. He said, but babe, he said, I can't explain it to you. You got to see it for yourself. I said, well, I'm not taking that hike. I'm looking at this tour guide sweating. He's out of breath. You know, I know how it was just going up the 50 steps that I went up. I don't think I can make it to the top. He said, let's take the tram. So he told the tour guide, do you mind waiting on us? Because my wife got to see the top of this site. He said, babe, we're going to take the tram up. I'm like, okay, cool. So we take the tram up to see the lighthouse. And so we get off the tram, and I'm thinking we're going to get off the tram and we're going to be at the lighthouse, right? Wrong. Once we got off the tram, it still was about 100 stairs to climb. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, what's the purpose of the tram if you still have to climb the stairs? And so people began climbing, and I looked over and I saw this lady with gray hair. She looked like to be about in her mid or late 70s. And so I looked at her and I said, if this beautiful older lady can go up these stairs, surely at 52, I can make it up, right? So I began my journey up the stairs. And so as I began my journey, my husband and I, we were behind another lady and her husband. This was a Caucasian lady, by the way. And I'm going to tell you why the color matters in a minute. And so it was her and her husband. And so she'll go up, and these were huge steps, by the way. So just one step would take you 2 steps to make one step. That's how huge the steps were. And it was a mess, y'all. But anyway, so she'll go up about 5 or 6 steps, and then she'll stop. So when she stops, I'll stop. And then she'll go up about 5 or 6 more steps, and then she stopped, and I'll stop. And then so finally, after she did that, she looked back and she saw that we were behind them. So she said, ma'am, she said, you all can go ahead of us. She said, because it's going to take me a minute. It's a lot to climb these stairs. I said, I know. That's why I'm staying behind you, because when you stop, I stop. When you go, I go. And so all 4 of us, we began to laugh, right? And so as we laughed, her and I, we sitting there, we catching our breath. Her husband, my husband, they started a conversation about how out of shape their wives were, right? And so I told them, I said, well, y'all go ahead. I said, me and her, we're going to make it to the top, and we'll meet y'all up there. That's what I told them. And so I went up about 5 steps, which it sounds like that's not a lot, y'all, those 5 steps. but they were so huge. So you taking 2 or 3 steps in one step to get up the step, if that makes sense. And so I went up about 5 or 6 stairs, and I looked back at her and I said, sis, come on. I said, we got this. We cannot let these men outdo us. She said, you're right. And so then she came up about 6 steps, and then we would both rest. And then she would take off, and I would still be there. And then once she gets about 6 or 7 or 8 steps, she'll look behind me and she said, we got to do it. We got this. We got this. And this went on for about 100 stairs. She'll go, I'll go, she'll go, and I go. But every time one of us went, we would look back at the other one and we would encourage them. We got this. You can do this. Come on. And we would stay at our step and wait for that person to get there. We'll both breathe, then the next person to go. And we did that, y'all, till we got to the top of those 100 stairs, which took us almost 20-some minutes to get there, but we did it. And the beautiful thing about it was when we got to the top of the steps, this woman didn't know me from Adam and Eve. I didn't know her from Adam and Eve. But we hugged each other. You would have thought we were longtime friends because we embraced each other. We high-fived each other. We broke out in laughter because we were like, we did it. We made it. And she said, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't think I can do it, but it was because you encouraged me. And I said, no, I didn't think I can do it, but it was because you encouraged me. And so we hugged each other again. And as we hugged each other again, we were so excited. And I looked at her in the eyes and I said, sis, thank you. And she said, no, thank you. I said, now let's go see this beautiful scene with our husbands. And then we looked at our husbands. They were both standing together and they was looking at us, embracing, laugh. And they started laughing. They shook hands and introduced themselves. And so in that moment, it didn't matter what color she was, what age she was, what race she was, what political party she came from, what religion, her background, what country, what state. Even though as we was making our climb, I found out she was from Atlanta, so she was from the States like I was. And but none of that mattered. The only thing that mattered in those 20 to 25 minutes is that her and I made it to the top, and that we kept encouraging each other to make it, and we kept telling each other, you can do it. And even though our minds and our bodies was telling us, girl, sit yourself down, you can't do it, our voices was louder in each other's ear telling us we can do it. Why am I telling you this story? It goes back to what the title of this video is. And the title of this video is We Need You. The Oasis needs you. I need you. Why? Because it is so important. And I told you all this at the very beginning of me starting to Empower Her Oasis, when I went through the change of changing the name from Better Woman to Better Wife to Empower Her Oasis, because I have a vision for this circle. And why is that story so important? Because that encouragement in the moment helped me to make it to the top of the mountain. And when I got to the top, outside of the embracing and the high-fiving with her, when I got over to my husband and I was able to walk around the lighthouse and see the scene was beautiful. When I tell you, it was absolutely amazing. You can see all of Cape Town. You can see the Atlantic Ocean. You can see the lights. You can see everything. And it was absolutely beautiful. But I would not have made it. I would not have seen it if it had not been for that sister who encouraged me. And so the reason I'm telling you this story is because it is so important as women that we encourage each other, that we uplift each other, that we embrace each other, and more importantly, that we open our mouths and we tell our story. We tell our story. Y'all heard my story about teenage pregnancy. I wrote a whole book about it. Y'all read my story about being a whore to a housewife. Y'all knew my journey through nursing school. There are so many stories that I have shared, not with Empower Her Oasis, but when it was Better Woman, Better Wife. But my story was probably for only maybe 100 women, if that many. Your story may be for 200. Somebody else's story may help 50. Somebody else's story may help 40. But the point is, everybody's story matters if we open our mouth. And you do not know what your story would do to that next sister who's just tuning in and listening to your story. Your story matters, and you have a story for a reason, because your test is your testimony. Your story can help that other sister who came through the same thing say, you know what, I can do it too. I can do it too. I remember being a clinical instructor and telling my story about teenage pregnancy and all of the hurdles I had to go to. Everybody didn't go through teenage pregnancy. That story ain't for everybody. I remember telling my story about from a whore to a housewife. That ain't everybody's teenage pregnancy or went through a promiscuous lifestyle, who had battles or had mommy issues. I helped them. I helped them to overcome whatever they was trying to hurt over. But that's not everybody's story. But guess what? Your story may help that sister who's going through. Maybe for you, you can tell somebody how to navigate through a bad marriage. You may can tell somebody how to navigate through divorce. You may can tell somebody how to get through in corporate America in that different space. You may be a business owner and tell somebody the tricks and trades of how to start your own business. You may be an author. You may tell somebody the steps of how to write their first book. You may be a nurse practitioner, astronaut, a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer, I don't know. And you can tell somebody, yes, it's difficult, but you can do it. You can get over it. You can cross the hurdle. You can get to the top of the mountain. Yeah, you may be in the valley, but let me tell you, if you keep pushing, it's a mountaintop. My story may not get to somebody, but guess what? Your story can. So again, I'm calling all women in this circle. We're 300 strong in this circle. And Better Woman, Better Wife, we were 500. Everybody hasn't transitioned over. So I pray that you invite somebody to the Oasis. You invite a friend, a cousin, a sister, whoever to the Oasis. And I'm asking, no, I'm begging that we have an attitude of encouragement, an attitude to uplift each other, an attitude to want to see our sisters win. I hear the story all the time that women are crab crawlers and we don't want to see each other making it. Somebody afraid that you may be making $2 more than the devil is a liar. Do you hear what I said? The devil is a liar. We can encourage each other. So if you are willing to get here on the Empower Oasis and just share your story, you know, we can do an interview style, or you can just tell your story, send me a video, and I'll upload it however you want to do it. But let's begin to open our mouths. Let's begin to tell our stories. Let's begin to encourage that other sister. Let's begin to tell somebody they can make it. And let's begin to tell somebody how we made it over. Because it's hard to tell somebody you can do it when you haven't done it yourself. It's hard to tell somebody that. It's hard to tell somebody, hey, you can start that business if you never started one. It's easy to write the book if you never read. But for those who have did it, let's tell our story. We have went through so many things in life. We come from so many backgrounds, so many religions, so many this, that, and the other. We got so many differences. So many differences, but the one thing that we all have in common is that we are women trying to make it, that we are women who are trying to level up and go to the next level, no matter the race, the creed, the color, none of that matters. Let's just have a desire to see each other win. If you are willing to tell your story, reach out to me, cobbsfelicia@gmail.com, or I have an Empower Oasis website. It's on the link if you look in the bio, or just send me a message through Messenger, or just post under this video, hey, I want to tell my story. Reach out to me at this email or whatever, and I'll reach out to you. But let's begin to make this Oasis a place where women can come. They can learn. We can learn from each other. We can thrive. We can level up in our lives. We can learn from each other. We can grow together. You know, the race is not given to the swift, but for those who endure to the end. Let's endure this thing together. Again, it wasn't my husband that encouraged me to get to the top, even though he was trying to tell me how beautiful. It was that sister who cared enough to look back at me and tell me I can do it. And I was able to do the same for her. So if you are willing to tell your story, if you are willing to empower and encourage another sister in whatever that story may be, because again, all of our stories are different, please reach out to me, whether you leave something in the comments below. Again, my email is cobbsfelicia@gmail.com, COBBSFELICIA@gmail.com. And let's get busy encouraging each other. And with that being said, be blessed and be empowered.